In this video, we're going to talk about how girl bosses are struggling with some of the workplace environment, but I think the men in this society need to step up, make the workplace more accommodating for them. So let's learn from their stories here.
I don't want a career. I just want a job. I don't care about climbing the corporate ladder or becoming a CEO, or if that's what you want to do, that's fine, but that's definitely not for me. I just want a job where I don't have to worry about my basic needs being met. So that means that I'm paid enough to not starve and to not have a breakdown every single day before work, because in my previous job, I definitely had a nervous breakdown every single day before work. And the reason why I don't really care about having a career, at least in the corporate world, is because nobody really cares about you. No matter what, you are not a human being. You are an asset to the company. I actually quit my previous job because there was so much bullying going around. There was so much toxic behaviors that I was like, oh my God, this is not it. And it got to the point where my mental health was so bad that I wanted to unalive myself. So I told my boss that I was going to quit, and she was like, why? And I was like, well, this environment isn't necessarily really healthy for me. I don't really feel like I'm thriving here. First of all, she says, I don't believe in mental health, which is, and second of all, she doesn't ask me whether I'm okay. She doesn't ask me if there's anything that she can do as a leader. She just tells me, well, what are you going to do about it? Your position is empty and we need that position. So you better do something about it. They were more concerned with the project and the work rather than a person's well-being. And the scary thing is that this is just one minor horror story in the sea of horrible corporate stories that are out there. So it's just not worth it.
So let's break down psychoanalysis of this, right? She's saying she just wants a job that's a safe position that provides her basic needs, paid to have a decent normal life. And the thing is, that's kind of gone, right? It's the super rich and the super poor. The middle class is kind of disappearing, right? It's going to be the haves and have-nots. And the thing is, there's nothing wrong with having a middle class job, but you need to build a niche within that so you can maximize your income. For example, if you're in the healthcare field, it may be becoming an eye specialist, an eye doctor who has very niche skills, and maybe you've built over the time in your career working with different brands, different pharmaceutical companies, and working with the public sector, and you can combine all of that to higher and higher salaries over the course of your career. Those are important things to consider. Now, this is the thing, when you're in these situations, you should really be planning ahead if you're dealing with these type of toxic work environments. And that's what I cover. I have 10 years of experience in the finance industry, working in sales and trading roles at top companies. I have career coaching and a career course, all linked in description. Now, if we go back to this example, so the other thing I want to say about her is you want to make sure people don't have that much leverage over you. And that's why as soon as you step into the workforce, you should think about how high can you climb in terms of your salary and your position, and how much can you invest, right? If she's going into work expecting the manager to care about her feelings, right? We know that your workplace is not your family. We're not one big happy family at work. But when I listen to some of these so-called career women or girl boss types to venting about the office environment and the work that they do, it's always like an emotional thing. It's like, oh, I wish I had more attention at work, more fulfillment at work. I wish they recognized me and acknowledged me more. It becomes all about feelings and emotions rather than money or power or respect or financial stability and things like that. It sounds like she wants to go to work and be treated like her manager is her husband or her father, in a sense, right? Someone to care about her feelings. And I think that's deep down the psychology here, the subconscious here going on for her, is that she wants a family, she wants a husband. Maybe if she wants a safe job with a safe position that covers her basic needs, paid to have a decent normal life, maybe instead of a job and a manager, she should find a husband to give her a monthly budget so she can live a comfortable, easy, stress-free life while her husband takes the stress of being the provider of the family. This is the thing. This is how she could live a relaxed life and get the lifestyle she's looking for, right? Good luck if you think your manager at work is going to care about your emotions and your feelings, right? And it sounds like a manager is a female also, who has some catty, passive-aggressive responses to some of her concerns, right? She wants her manager to act like a caring husband, but you're not going to do that, right? You should basically bear in mind, again, the people you work with couldn't care less about your mental health. The company you work for doesn't care about your mental health, even if they have all these mental health days and special meetings and discussions, all they're trying to do is manage the risk of so many people having mental breakdowns because they can't progress in their life due to inflation, high tax, lack of healthy social dynamics. Why do you think, let me know in the comments, why do you think all these corporations all of a sudden care about people's mental health? Why has mental health become such a big topic? It's because this system knows what it's destroyed people's lives, destroyed their families, destroyed the family unit, even healthy gender relations without having kids, destroyed even neighborhoods, communities, people living in small apartments, can't have kids, can't afford kids, can't have a stable job, and don't have completely dysfunctional social dynamics, can't invest if they don't make enough money to invest. So people don't really have a future, right? That's why you're having mental health issues, right? It's not like if you have all these people with mental health issues, it's because there's a systemic issue, a systemic failing, right? So my opinion here is to put your health before your wealth and use work to benefit you. And if you're really in a toxic dynamic or you feel like the manager's really disrespecting you, you should leave, but don't expect them to care about your mental health. They care about you getting the work done. They couldn't care less whether you live or delete yourself.
I'm to the point where I'm just so sick of the 9 to 5 corporate America. And the thing is, I just got here. I'm 2 years in and I'm already over it. The politics, the climbing up the ladder, the people in the room telling you have to work extra hard to just make it up to the next level. Well, let's be real, the people probably at the top most likely didn't climb the corporate ladder. They just knew somebody. And some did, but some didn't. But this whole thing of we spend 40 hours of the week at work just to survive in corporate America and then survive in America and then just survive. I'm so over this. I have a strong urge to live abroad because something tells me that they just are doing better and just have a happier life abroad.
So I think she's making some fair points here, right? And I think a good thing here is quite early on, a younger age, she's learning that there are some red flags when it comes to work, right? And she should find what works for her best rather than simply thinking she's got to stay with a specific career path. I would say that she's true. She's making a fair point here that working hard is not necessarily the answer. And typically she mentioned some career mentors saying, oh, you've got to work hard to succeed. You've got to do this, you've got to do that. And I think typically this is why I'm here really as a career coach, because typically when you work for a corporation, particularly the big ones, they will give you an assigned career mentor, someone who's more senior in your particular division who can give you some advice. They'll probably not be your direct manager or on your team, but maybe on a similar team. And I've had to deal with that, and it's always your typical soy boy, bug man, kind of shit lib, weak, effeminate, domesticated, neutered, castrated guy who's slightly, it's middle management, who's giving you life advice or how to progress your career, and it's all a bit ridiculous. And it's all a bit like, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, I don't want to be this guy. How can I be mentored by a guy I don't want to be or someone I don't want to be? And this is the reality, right? This is where you've got to plan ahead for what will work for you. And a lot of people think that means, oh, working hard or quickly climbing the corporate ladder or jumping to another job. Sometimes it does mean thinking carefully about who you are, what your personality type is, because that's how you can make the most money, by figuring out what type of work works best for you. For some people, you might go into a high-paying finance career and you realize, well, you're more of an introvert, right? And you prefer to keep more time to yourself. Maybe you need to go into a finance analyst type of role rather than a sales role, because you can spend more time to yourself, or go into coding and programming where you don't have to be facing and dealing with difficult people all the time. You can just solve complex problems through your coding job. This is the thing, you got to think about what will work for your personality type. Now, she mentions living abroad. Now, I see Americans typically say move abroad to work in Europe, things like that. Sometimes Europeans say they want to work in America to make more money, and the salary is significantly higher for the same job in America compared to the UK, right? Even if you account for currency differences, for example, the tech jobs in America pay at least 50 to 100% more than the jobs in the UK doing a similar type of work. So it's worthwhile considering why you're moving. And if you're moving to Europe, you have to understand you're going to have a significant pay cut. You might have less stress in terms of work. You might be working just a 9 to 5, literally, and it's not going to have the high stress work environment of America, but you have a significant pay cut. Maybe some of the public services will be good, but you might not be in a position to actually build a sustainable life because housing's overpriced there too, and tax is high. So just bear that in mind. Don't think, oh, I'm just going to move to another country, all my problems will get solved. It's a bit more complicated than that.
I think one of the worst things about working a 9 to 5 is having to ask for permission for stuff. If I want to go on a 3-month hiatus, that has to get cleared through HR. I can't just disappear. That is very inconvenient to me and my lifestyle.
TikTok, I do not want to work in corporate America anymore. I just want to go get a little retail job that I don't care about and just have enough money to pay the bills and do what I want. I don't need to climb the ladder. Working in corporate is not it. I've worked for 4 different major banks in different departments, and I just don't like it. When I worked at Capital One, I liked the people, but I didn't like the work. People think, we're always taught, you go to college, you get a job in your field, get a good corporate job with benefits, good pay, but the stress, waking up and dreading going to work, but you feel like you have to because it's a good job, it's a good pay. I just don't want to deal with it anymore. I had less stress working front desk at the Courtyard Marriott, getting cussed out by people. It was less stress. Working in corporate America is just a bunch of people who think that their dookie don't stink, and it's just like high school, and they want you to care so much about the job. I just don't want to work in corporate America anymore, and it's just like, I feel like you're looked down upon. If I were to leave this type of job and go work a job that's not this advanced, it would be like, people will look at me like, you have a college degree and that's what you're gonna do with it? That's beneath you. But I do know that this ain't gonna work. And I'm tired of going to work not liking it.
So we've got 2 different perspectives there. First perspective of the Asian lady, I think she was making an interesting point about how she didn't want to ask for permission before she goes on holiday. But I think if you give this specific example where she wants to go on holiday for 3 months, right, it's kind of childish behavior. If women want equality to men, then the equality comes with the same financial responsibilities. And in this society and system, how it currently operates is if you're employed, then you're going to have to obviously not be able to take 3 months break unless you quit your job. And then it just really comes down to what you want, right? Because it sounds like if you want a lot of this free time, it makes sense to be a housewife rather than a career woman. So that's an interesting perspective there. Then the second perspective here, she's talking about how she worked at 4 different banks. She had the same issues. And this is the thing, if you're not happy in your job, there are a process of elimination to find out what could work for you. Trying a different role, trying another industry from finance to tech, for example, trying a different work style, working from home, hybrid work, thinking about what your personality type is. Do you like to focus on working with good quality people or just focusing on working alone? What is the priority here? And if you're not happy, what is your plan to escape, right? What is your plan for freedom? Are you planning to escape in terms of working 5 to 10 years in corporate, saving and investing, and then going to a minimalist lifestyle, moving abroad? How are you going to maximize that type of situation you're in to benefit you? And also think about what she's saying here, which is something I've pointed out on my channel. I said, if you want to learn how the corporate environment works, don't watch a Wall Street movie like the Wall Street Gordon Gekko movies or Wolf of Wall Street, Margin Call, The Big whatever that was called, all those popular banking movies. Watch Mean Girls, which is a high school movie. Watch a couple high school movies about females at high school, like the Mean Girls movie with Lindsay Lohan, because it's kind of funny because the social dynamics, the clique, the popularity games people play at high school, the gossiping, the backstabbing, those are the type of things you have to deal with in the corporate environment, which she's kind of pointed out here, how, it's like high school over again. You're managing different personality types. You're dealing with corporate and very similar to high school in, like I say, who's popular and who's not. So those are kind of interesting to consider rather than being someone who's focused on, just technical skills. Let's listen to another perspective here.
I've been hit with the realization that I am not cut out for the corporate life while I'm working my 9 to 5. Something about working for a corporate company feels so dystopian, especially in retail. Like, I just keep my finger on it. It just feels wrong. Literally every single day feels like the end of the world if a color of something is wrong, if the fit of a jean is wrong, or the sizing on something is not right. Like, it feels everyone loses their shit over something so minuscule, and I get it, like, details are, but it's become so draining that, like, every little, it's like, on stuff that doesn't matter. Like, also, the work-life balance is horrid, and our 1-hour lunch breaks are not really 1 hour. Everyone works through their lunch. Lunch is literally like 15 minutes, always scarfing down my food. We're on to the next meeting because everything is just so jam-packed. I don't know, I'm just starting to think this is not for me, and I hate being a quitter. I'm someone that pushes through all the time, I want things right. I love a good challenge, but I just feel like fundamentally, like internally in my soul, I'm not cut out for the corporate world. I like to have my own schedule. I want to be able to enjoy my lunch. And I just don't like when things are like, that's just how it is. Like, and things are not fair. And it's hard because it is a cool job with a cool company and people are always envious of you because you can get in. Like, there's great benefits. I love my team. I love the people I'm with, but just like, I feel like it's not my purpose in life, if that makes sense. I feel like I'm not really doing good in the world by having a corporate job. I just feel like my purpose is bigger than this. And
see, if you want a kind of chill, laid back life, you've got to think about what will put you in that scenario. And for most women, it would be, opting for housewife life. But if that's not what you want to do, then the corporate life comes with challenges. You might have shorter lunch breaks. You might, typically for corporate jobs, if you're working in trading, for example, sales and trades type of roles that I've been in, even when it's quiet, they don't want you to have your lunch off the desk. You have to bring your lunch to the desk, which is kind of annoying because sometimes I'm way ahead of work and the work I'm doing, and I just want to have a chill lunch like outside of the office, but you've got to be in the office. It's like so much down to perception, but there are other ways you can manage that. You can have boundaries. You could break the mold, plan your escape. You don't want to be a quitter, but you don't want to be whinging on social media like this with no plan, no strategy. You need to figure out something that's going to work for you, right? And it just kind of how low the bar is sometimes set for women in the corporate environment. It's just like, in the red pill community, I think Rollo Tomasi created this term. It's called amused mastery. Amused, you have to be amused at a woman doing a small achievement. That's the approach to take, even in the workplace. So it's like any little thing a woman does, it's so amazing, she's done a great job, we have to be very supportive. And it's like there's such a lower bar set for women in the corporate environment compared to men. And any little she does, like I say, we've got to act like she's had some groundbreaking change, be super supportive, like a supportive boyfriend or a husband or a father. That's the role you kind of push as a man in the corporate environment sometimes, right? If she wants a chill, easy life, there's this there that I came up with. You put a child in a sandbox, you put a woman in the home, right? If she's not happy being in the office environment, she could figure out another job, but all these jobs are going to come with similar challenges. If she wants this super chill life, it's not going to exist in a corporate job. You can maybe go and work for a charity, an NGO, and get an easy type of role there. But even then, the job security might not be there. The chill life you want, it really doesn't come from having a job. It comes from not having a job.
Do you feel me?
No one talks about the mental toll it takes on you when you're unemployed and trying to find a job. Like the rejection, and then you think you have a good interview and you get a rejection letter saying they went with another candidate. It's like, why did I just waste all my time going through all those interviews, you asking all of these questions? It's literally been 10 months since I've been unemployed. I'm educated. I work hard. I'm applying to jobs. My unemployment's done. I'm blowing through my savings. And I say have faith, but it's like, how can you have faith when it's not happening? And I know this job market is really trash, but mentally, it's like so draining. Nobody talks about how draining it is. I'm honestly just at loss.
So she's got a good point here, right? In that you'll be working hard and looking for your next job, and the rejections can be quite demoralizing. And I think you need to be detached. You treat it like dating, speed dating, don't take it personally, go in and out an interview, have your typical canned responses. You should be so prepared for interviews that when you're answering them, it's kind of like the way I'm talking now, it's kind of going below of what I'm saying. I know what they're going to ask. How long have you been working? 10 years. For example, which companies you worked at? What's your top responsibilities at Morgan Stanley? What was your top achievements? I know all the answers, right? And I know what they're going to ask, basically, right? There might be a few technical questions, a few questions trying to put me on the spot, like, do you know this? Do you know that? What are you going to do next in your career? Then I can think on the spot. But a lot of the times you can just put a happy face, right? Like you're on the phone, like customer service, they have the typical canned responses. That's the type of thing you should do. You should know your resume inside out. You can refer to it mentally in interview practice. Again, there's things I can help with through my career coaching. And you should be used to this type of thing, go through it like a routine. And the thing she mentioned, she's educated, but does she have marketable skills? This is the thing. Many people have all these degrees, master's degrees, PhD degrees, MBAs, but they're struggling in their career. It's because they haven't built relevant skills relevant to their industry, right? If you've got a random liberal arts degree in psychology or communications, or something like that, that might not really help you in your career. So let's listen to the final clip here.
I could talk about this now because I've gotten past it, but the job market has been trash, and it's been trash every single time I've needed to look for a job. It took me 6 months to find the current job that I'm at. And what's crazy about that, it's not in any of the 2 degrees that I have, and I had no experience prior to what I'm doing now. But what was so frustrating during those 6 months of applying was the fact that I had the degrees, I had the experience, and I was qualified. And these jobs did not want to pay, first and foremost. And second of all, it's like all my credentials didn't matter. Or they were like ghost posting, like jobs posting that they're hiring, but they're really not. But they just have the posting out there. And overall, it was just really frustrating. Last time I was applying for jobs, it took a little bit longer, but still at least like 6 months found anything. And back then I had like no experience. Even still, with the experience I have now, 2 degrees, experience in both of the fields, was not able to find a job in those areas, or was not able to get a job in those areas. And honestly, during that time, I had to really figure out a game plan of what I'm going to do to not be put in that situation again. So really focusing on like business ventures and things to bring in money outside of working a 9 to 5. That's never really been what I've wanted to do per se, but having what jobs say that they want and them still not hiring you, or if they want to hire you, not willing to pay more than like 16 or an hour. And y'all know that's not enough. That is not a living in today's economy by any means. But it really just showed me even more so. It just emphasized what I already knew, is to develop something for yourself and make it profitable. But
So it's a good point here, right? It can be hard finding those jobs, reskilling. You stay always one step ahead of your industry. What's the next trend? And that's the difficult thing sometimes when you are job searching, because you've like, not only do you have to work your job, find another job, you have to think about what is the next skill on the horizon. Is your in the department, for example, in finance, using more data analytics, using some coding? Can you learn some Python, learn some data analyst skills? These are the type of things. Try to be a bit ahead of the curve, right? And just always understand, because you said you've done 2 degrees. Education, the educational, it's a business. They're going to sell you this idea, oh, if you do a degree, you're going to get this good job. But that's not always how it works. There's many times you can be fooled into getting expensive degrees, coding boot camps, things like that, and it doesn't necessarily pay off in terms of you making more money. So if we move on to this article here about Gen Z, right? They talk about them saying they're gen lazy, how their generation doesn't want to work anymore. People are just fed up of working jobs and going nowhere in life. And it makes sense why, some are kind of frustrated with work and don't want to work. It says here, I will probably never own a house. I don't have dreams of being the highest up person at my company or my industry because it doesn't seem possible. Not only is there no financial reward, but all these jobs are occupied by older people who are just going to stay there until they retire. So why would I work hard? And this is the thing, I understand perspectives here, right? I've been kind of critical of the people that we've just gone through, but you need a plan in the sense you can't just give up. You need to think about developing a high-paying corporate job, employing minimalism, maybe a side hustle, moving abroad to lower your living costs. If you want to buy property, sometimes that could be a good route to take too. Just don't get too caught up like, okay, I'm no way out. I don't know what to do with my life. My manager doesn't care about my emotions. That's just not the right approach to take. Here it says here, there's a lack of drive and passion to exceed in something from some of the employees these days. They don't want to put in the extra work. There's a lack of taking pride in your job compared to previous generation. Now, I felt this in corporate, right? It's hard to take pride in your work when it in reality only benefits your manager or the company who are getting the majority of the profit or the bonus. And my approach is take pride in myself, my reputation, my personal professional brand, and my escape plan, right? I wasn't committed on impressing my manager. I was committed to doing a good job because that would give me more money to live my life how I see fit. So I didn't want to be stuck in the 9 to 5 forever. right? And these are the type of things. You don't want to just be chasing higher job titles, lifestyle inflation. You need to play the long game for your freedom. Now, this is very funny, right? This is the concept of being a time thief, which I covered in some of my most popular videos that had like 45,000 views. I talk about how you should steal time and put in less effort at work. Here we've got an example of a great time thief where someone's at work and they don't do a lot of work, but they use the company time to do what they want. Gen Z videographer George gave up trying to work his job when he realized he wasn't going to get a promotion. He vowed to be the biggest time thief they ever lived. He claimed to always have weekly appointments, weekly dentist, plumber appointments. He drank alcohol on company time. He used an out-of-office message to go on a trip through London, riding in London, going to all the tourist destinations, and soaking sunshine, right? He would work projects in less time and then just go out and do what he wants. So the whole idea here is that, something I've told you before, if you want to leave work consistently early for several weeks, just say you have a physiotherapy appointment every Thursday at 3 p.m. So they let you leave. Because typically health issue, they have to let you leave. You have an interview, you have a meeting with your mental health therapist every Wednesday night at 4 p.m. So they have to let you leave early. You have a family member, a nephew or a niece you have to pick up from high school or from primary school, preschool every Monday afternoon, so you have to leave work early. These are the type of things you could get away with. The fact that this guy had always having dentist appointments every week, spending a day away from work, saying he was doing work like in being a videographer and recording London when he was just partying, having fun, doing what he wanted to do, being a tourist. It's quite funny, right? And this is what I expect you to, or I advise you to do, to what extent you can. Steal company time, kind of personal life admin during work hours if you can, like have a laptop and need to send for your personal life, maybe your contacts with your accountants or a lawyer if you're managing something to do with your personal finances, things like that. Try to waste company time so it benefits you. The whole message here is to do what you want, stop playing fair with the system, and this is what the guy's done by wasting company time to benefit his life. It's hard to see your generation above you go home to their cozy homes and children when you may never be able to afford a house or having, right? People on my team can log on at 9:30 and log off at 3 p.m. because they're going to go and drop off their kids at school and pick up their kids from school, right? I'm expected, because I'm single, to work from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. because I don't have any kids. Well, I have life too. You decided to have kids, I decided not to have kids, but they get off so easily. The company's very accommodating of them because they have kids, so they can start late and they can finish early when it comes to their job, right? They can in the middle of the workday to visit their kids or take them to a dentist appointment, something like that. So he's using similar excuses, right? One woman used to work at 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. Monday to Wednesday. And I do the rest of her meetings. Meanwhile, she was being paid triple my salary. Now, this has happened to me many times. It's very annoying. You have a manager who's a career woman, also a mother, and she wants to, start on Monday and Tuesday to drop her kids off at school, finish early on those days too, to pick up her kids from school at 4 p.m. And you have to work to do all extra work for her. And they're hiring you because you're younger, you're single, you don't have kids, and you're treated like a second-class citizen, right? And they get this easy, comfortable life with their massive house, and they're earning a high salary, their partner is, and they've got their kids in private school, and you can't even afford to buy a house, let alone get married and have kids. Right? People who are parents at work, especially working mothers, they're given complete work-life flexibility, and you're not, right? I would, like I say, use all the type of excuses I mentioned before to get more flexibility at work. Then there's workplace etiquette. Gen Z refuse to dress appropriately. They dress so inappropriately. I saw one girl wearing knee-high lace-up boots with skinny jeans and a low-cut bodysuit tucked into their jeans. Another was wearing pleather PVC skirt with a band tee and big clumpy boots. They wear crop tops with their belly button out and everything, right? And it's kind of funny because when you've got people who dress like this in the workplace environment, right, you've got to consider how appropriate it would be, right? And the corporations and society created a society world where women have zero accountability, zero responsibility, and now these corporations, society, the baby boomers, they're having to deal with the consequences of this. It's not just men, it's not just young men. You can't blame the younger men, the red pill, the inkwells, whatever you want to call them, manosphere, you have to look at how women are conducting themselves, because everyone has to deal with their entitled, empowered nature now. Not just younger men, even men in the office who are older, who are very supportive of gender equality and pushed women into accelerated promotions because it benefited their career, because they had to meet gender equality targets for hiring and promoting more women. Now they have to deal with their entitled nature. So, you know, what comes with karma, baby, like, get used to it. Now they can enjoy and suffer from the results of this type of a dynamic at work, right? The biases against men and the favoritism towards women, right? Men are noticing all the biases and their game plan to work around and escape it. These are the type of things worth considering, you know, what's in society. Some of it is genuine, right? Like I say, you know, you can say they're less motivated, they've got less going for them, they've got less willingness to work hard because can't really progress their life. Then you've got some women who are really looking for emotional fulfillment from work, which they don't understand is not going to come from work. And then a sense of entitlement too. But then also, on the other hand, you've got a tough job market, constant demand for new skills. It is a bit of a mixed bag. I don't think we can just say it's all one group or the other. It really is a difficult time, and all these compounding impacts of what's going on in society you see in the workplace, right? You can avoid it when you're in your personal life. You can not deal with difficult personalities or entitled career women or the older generation and being annoying and expecting you to be more motivated in your personal life. But at work, all the social dysfunction is there on Front Street, and you have to deal with it. So this brings me on to the lesson from my course, link in description, where I say you need to learn the corporate game or get played. You need to optimize for office power dynamics, outmaneuver your competition co-workers, and be able to outsmart controlling managers and learn office politics. And this is what it comes down to. Why am I talking about social dynamics, right? These are like social issues in a sense, not just the economy or the career, right? But you have to deal with these in a very real world in the workplace. And that's why I offer career coaching to help you get promoted faster, land your dream career, go through the job search process much quicker, earn a higher salary as quick as possible, rather than getting caught up with all this dysfunction. And also, there's a link in description to a Mailbox Money newsletter. You'll get free career tips right to your inbox twice a week. Let me know what you think about these specific examples, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. 2 recommended videos on the screen right now.